Now we are less than a week away from Survivor Series. I've been enjoying the uploads on WWE's Vault channel on YouTube. They've been posting a lot of Survivor Series matches from the 80s and the 90s. If you want some good recommendations, I suggest the 1989 show. 1995 was a good year for Survivor Series. 1996, 2002, widely regarded as maybe the best overall Survivor Series that they ever did. Then, of course, it became Brand Warfare. Now, War Games has become the annual staple of the show. This will be year number 3. We've got 2 War Games matches, one of which does not even really need to be a War Games match, and the other one is what the entire show is being built around, and we had a massive development on that front at the end of Smackdown. And I have a confession to make. I have been saying that the match should stay 4-on-4. There's no need to introduce any other people. This is about the family. And that's true. It is. But seeing what they did on Friday and all of the potential directions that it now opens up, that was a lot of fun. And so, no, it didn't need to be 5-on-5, but I'm glad they took the direction they did with it. So I will tip my hat to them. And the breadcrumbs for this were laid out months ago. You know, Roman Reigns and the OG Bloodline, they were all out of options as far as who could be their 5th man in War Games. Seth Rollins turned them down twice in 2 weeks. Nobody else wanted to have anything to do with them, and why would they? Roman Reigns made a lot of enemies over the last 4 years. The guy's an asshole. They've built an entire other storyline around Kevin Owens being pissed off that Cody Rhodes teamed with Roman in Bad Blood. So when they came out at the end of the show to confront Solo Sikoa and his bloodline, it was 5-on-4. Solo had Bronson Reed on his team. Roman was ready to go at it, a man down. He's like, if we die together. And then we heard the wise man's voice. Because Roman had tried to call him on the phone the week before, only to find out that the number had been disconnected. That's how the show went off the air last week. Now, Paul Heyman walks out. He looks different. He looks well rested. He looks 10 years younger. And he wasn't wearing the usual blue or gray suit or the pinstripe suit that he sometimes wears. He was wearing black with a red shirt underneath, exactly the way Solo Sikoa has been dressed before. Huge reaction for Heyman opening his mouth. The only person in wrestling who doesn't need entrance music. All he has to do is speak and he gets a pop. And he says it's not going to be 5-on-4 at Survivor Series. It's going to be 5-on-5. And he points to the stage and out comes CM Punk, taping his fists as he walks to the ring with a purpose. He slides in. He starts throwing hands like he's backstage at All Out again. And they wipe out the heels, and we end up with Roman Reigns and CM Punk face-to-face in the middle of the ring, with Paul Heyman standing on the apron behind them smiling. And this was not on the microphone, but you could see them mouthing to each other. Roman asks Punk, what are you doing here? And Punk tells him, saving your ass. Roman says, he's my wise man. And Punk tells him, we'll see. Very important. Punk pointed at Paul Heyman after Roman asked, why are you here? Because for the people asking, how does this make sense? That Punk would want to team with Roman Reigns and save the bloodline. Like, what's in it for him? Nothing. Nothing is in it for him. Roman doesn't have a championship anymore to defend. This is not some quid pro quo. Punk was not promised anything. He's doing this for one reason. He's doing this as a favor to a friend. A friend who earlier this summer stood in the ring and begged Punk, please take me with you. Take me back to Raw with you. He was so scared of Solo and the Tongans. And the very next week, his friend got powerbombed through the announce table and left for dead. He didn't do anything about it then because it wasn't his fight. And that was on SmackDown. Punk was on Raw. But now it is because Heyman called in that favor. And that's all the explanation you need. Like, that's good enough for me. Now, they still have one very big loose end hanging there with Kevin Owens wanting to kill Cody Rhodes for teaming with Roman Reigns, and yet he seems to be fine with his best friend, Sami Zayn, doing the exact same thing. And they need to address that at some point. But the Punk stuff was played perfectly. It was well played the way that they had Bronson Reed added to the match so that everybody would just assume that Seth Rollins was going to change his mind and he would end up wanting in on the match, right? Because the two of them, they've been beefing lately. So it would make sense that Rollins would be on one side and Reed would be on the other. But instead of Rollins, we got Punk. And now Seth Rollins has even more reason to resent CM Punk, because if you listen to what Rollins said in that promo on Monday backstage, when Sammy and the Usos, they tried one more time, unsuccessfully, to get him to change his mind, Rollins said, look, I would happily tag with you guys, but not Roman Reigns. I cannot justify teaming with Roman Reigns and playing a part in him regaining power. We see what he did with that power the last time. He couldn't look himself in the mirror knowing that he helped him claw back some of that power. He said, I can't do it. The answer is no. But CM Punk has no issue doing that. I mean, Rollins is out here talking like he's doing this for the greater good. Punk doesn't give a shit about the greater good. He's doing a favor for a friend. Rollins called this man a tyrant. And here's CM Punk teaming with this man. This is just another shot being fired for the inevitable WrestleMania feud between Punk and Rollins. What they have done here is they have set up just a myriad of different directions that they could go in. Punk and Rollins, Punk and Roman. Sometime next year, that's going to be a huge money match with Paul Heyman caught in the middle. A battle for the custody of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman on a pole. They're going to have to reinforce that pole. What about Heyman coming out dressed like Solo Sikoa? What's the meaning behind that? Is Paul Heyman going to turn on Roman Reigns? Maybe he's upset that Roman never bothered to check up on him after he got sent to the hospital. Wouldn't be the first time that Paul Heyman has turned on somebody at Survivor Series. Heyman is a babyface. I mean, he's super over right now. But Heyman as a babyface just feels wrong. Right? I mean, it's just wrong. You know it's not going to last. It's just a matter of when. So, I mean, they opted to do the Heyman return on TV and not wait until the pay-per-view, to bring him out and have him introduce the fifth man as a last-minute surprise because they wanted to drive interest in the show. I get that. But is that because they do have another big surprise plan for the pay-per-view? And so they wanted to do this now so it didn't trample on whatever they might have planned there. Are we going to get another cameo from The Rock like we did at Bad Blood? Where does he fit into all this? Maybe Heyman is going to be revealed as Rock's new wise man and not Roman's anymore. Lots of ways that this can go. And I love these callbacks to the past. See, the storytelling here is on point. And that reaction that you saw at the end of the show on Friday, that's what happens when you tell a great story. We talk about storylines all the time. Some work, some don't. It's moments like that when you see that crowd and you hear that crowd reaction, that right there tells you that what you're doing is working. It's connecting on some level. And people appreciate that. Those are the moments that make those stories worth it. A great story is not, unfortunately, what we have with the women's War Games match. It's going to be Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Naomi, and a fifth partner that will not be Jade Cargill anymore, taking on Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. This should have been a traditional Survivor Series elimination match, not a War Games match. The reason Jade is no longer going to be part of this team is because they killed her off on Friday, and they did a major injury angle with her that, according to Fightful, may have been a cover for a legitimate injury, but they don't know what that injury is right now. But during Bianca's U.S. title tournament match against Chelsea Green and Blair Davenport, they cut to the back, and we saw Jade laying unconscious on top of a car. The windshield was all smashed. Her face was all bruised up. The update from WWE, and this may be their most ridiculous medical update yet, is that she has been diagnosed with deep lumbar paraspinal muscle contusions, a bruised kidney, a sprained MCL in her right knee, a tibial plateau bone bruise of her right knee, and facial lacerations. That's the technical way of saying she's all fucked up. She's out of War Games. She's out of the U.S. title tournament where she was supposed to wrestle Michin and Piper Niven in the first round this Friday. They've already taped this week's SmackDown. I'm not going to get into the spoilers here. I haven't even bothered with them. But they did have to replace her in that match with somebody else, and we'll find out who that is on Friday. So what we have here now with this storyline is we got ourselves a whodunit. And I hope Jade is not hurt seriously if she has a serious injury, but it's not like they haven't done stuff like this before. Steve Austin had to go get neck surgery. So what did they do? They ran him down with a fucking car. And they turned it into a whodunit angle. That's how we got that Rikishi did it for The Rock. That's where that came from. So now we have ourselves another whodunit. Who knocked off Jade? It wasn't Bianca Belair, because why would she intentionally sabotage her chances of becoming U.S. champion by running out on her match? She left in the middle of her match to go check on her partner. So Chelsea Green ended up winning that match, as I told you she would. And now it's going to be Chelsea against Bayley in the next round. This is either Bayley or Naomi. They're going to be the one who attacked Jade Cargill. Maybe both of them. But I think it's one or the other. I'm on the side of it being Bayley. Bayley has been feeling left out. She's the odd woman out of War Games. Now, all of a sudden, how convenient a spot has opened up in the War Games match. And she's probably going to end up with it. Plus, she took out her competition in the tournament. That makes her path a little bit easier now. But she's not the only one, because Naomi is in that tournament, and Naomi would have wrestled Jade had Jade won in the next round. So this also makes Naomi's path a lot easier. Naomi's going to be wrestling Tiffany Stratton and Elektra Lopez. She wins that match. She's going to be wrestling the winner of what would have been Jade, Michin, and Piper Niven. Now, I predicted a Bayley and Naomi final on Saturday night's main event. That's what I said last week when they first announced this. I still think that's what we're going to get. I think Naomi wins the title. I think Naomi wins the title regardless of whether she's the culprit, whether she goes heel or doesn't go heel. I think she's going to win the championship. Naomi has a lot of matches this year that have not gone her way. It has not been a great year for Naomi. And then she just lost to Nia Jax 2 weeks ago for the world title. I could see Naomi being Jade's attacker and just doing whatever it takes to make sure she doesn't lose this time. So take your pick. Again, Bayley or Naomi. I would go with Naomi, but that War Games spot opening up, it just makes me think Bayley. Here's the Survivor Series card as of this recording. We only have 3 matches announced. The 2 War Games matches and a World Heavyweight Championship match. That's it. Last year we had 5 matches, so I'm expecting 2 more to be added this week. What are the possibilities? They could add Cody Rhodes against Kevin Owens. And based on that segment they did on Friday, they had an excellent back and forth promo segment. And Cody outright said it doesn't matter whether it's tonight, it doesn't matter whether it's at Survivor Series or whether it's at Saturday night's main event. Right? The 2 of them are going to meet and they're going to go at it. And it does feel like they want to hold off on this until Saturday night's main event. If they do the first match here, though, it should be non-title and Kevin Owens should go over. That way you force a rematch for the championship. But again, my sense of it is if it hasn't already been announced, they're not doing Cody and KO on this show. So then you have Braun Breaker and Sheamus. They had their Intercontinental title match on Monday, and it was interrupted by Ludwig Kaiser. Now, Gunther defended that title on last year's show against The Miz. We had an Intercontinental Championship match. I don't know if it's going to happen this coming weekend or not. I think it should. When it happens, though, I see Braun Breaker retaining the title. LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura, they're headed for a United States Championship match. They could always add that. If they do, LA Knight's going to win. If it comes down between the IC match or the US match, you got to do that triple threat for the Intercontinental title on this show. That Intercontinental Championship, I don't believe, has been defended on a PLE since SummerSlam. Meanwhile, LA Knight just defended his US title at Crown Jewel. So if it's a choice between the 2 of them, you got to do the triple threat match. I'm going to say they add the Intercontinental match, and they're going to add 1 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. That's my prediction. And the elimination match should be Miz and the Final Testament against the Wyatt Six, because it's just set up perfectly for that stipulation. And if they do that match, the Wyatt Six wins. Now, in the women's War Games match, it's Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Naomi, and whoever replaces Jade Cargill, probably Bayley, taking on Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. I think the baby faces are going over here, and Tiffany Stratton, my prediction, is going to finally cash in her Money in the Bank. And we are going to have our first cash in either during or after a War Games match, probably right after they lose. And I want to give a shout out to Sam. Sam wrote into the show, and he had a very interesting suggestion, which was, what if Candice LeRae and Tiffany Stratton are in cahoots together? Right? They were arguing on Smackdown. They were tag team partners on Friday night. They couldn't stop arguing. Maybe it's all just for show, and Candice is going to help cost Nia Jax the title. Tiffany wins it, and Candice then becomes Tiffany's sidekick instead of being Nia's sidekick. I really like that idea. I like that idea a lot. And look, I mean, Tiffany is going to have her pick of which champion to cash in on because Liv Morgan and Nia Jax are both in this War Games match. So it's kind of like Crown Jewel all over again where, hey, she could take her pick of which title she wants to go after. But I think she cashes in on Nia and she wins the title, finally. I think Tiffany defending against Charlotte Flair is going to be the play for WrestleMania 41. We have Gunther defending the World Heavyweight Championship against the former champion Damian Priest. Finn Balor cost Priest the title at SummerSlam, and I think he gets involved here again to cost Priest. The entire Judgment Day will get involved. There needs to be a reason to run Priest against Balor back again, because they haven't let this go. Like, he already beat Finn Balor at Bad Blood. If they would have moved on, that would have been the end of it. That's why I was like, he already won. To have him go over on Balor and still keep this feud going just seems ridiculous to me. But week after week, we see Finn Balor is still obsessed over making sure that Damian Priest does not win that World Heavyweight Championship again. So he'll get involved in some way. There has to be a reason to run it back. Maybe it's Saturday night's main event. Him costing Damian Priest is the answer, I think, here. That's what makes the most sense. Yeah, it's a rehash of what we saw at SummerSlam already. I'm not saying that it's the ideal finish, but to get to where they're going, I think it's the only thing that really makes sense. So Gunther is going to retain, though. Whatever they do here, whether it's a clean finish or not, Gunther is not losing the World Heavyweight Championship to Damian Priest. And then the men's War Games match has Roman Reigns, the Usos, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk taking on Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Big Bronson Reed. Solo Sikoa pinned Roman Reigns to win it for his team at Crown Jewel. I would be surprised if they put Solo over again here. Unless there's some big swerve at the very end, somebody turns, then yes, I could see it happening. But as I sit here right now, and I have not seen the Go Home Raw yet, it hasn't happened yet. Maybe something happens on the show tomorrow night that makes me change my mind. And I haven't read the spoilers for SmackDown, but they're probably going to be doing the Man Advantage match, I assume, on SmackDown for War Games. I know they're doing one with the women on Raw tomorrow night with Bianca and Nia Jax. Right now, though, I'm feeling the OG Bloodline goes over. I'm going with the OGs and Punk, and I think it's Jey Uso picks up the win for his team.